mysteries, hidden history, and the unexplained. Join William Collinson and Lee Strydom on Strange and Mysterious World.
Welcome to Strange and Mysterious World, Season 3, Episode 18. Tonight we're bringing on Gideon Le Roux. Is he in Cape Town, Will?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Based in Cape Town, and we're going to be doing something cool. It's like a face reading, very similar to palm reading, face reading. It's a bit difficult to pronounce, something like physiognomy, something like that. So, yeah, that'll be quite interesting. Let's see what he has to say. Let's go.
Gideon, so wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on. My friend Conrad, I was sitting at his house and he was editing this video of you giving a talk about how to read people's faces, like the kind of like, almost like, is it like palm reading or is it?
Well, it's not like palm reading, but I suppose there is similarities in the sense that I think palm reading is much more, let's say, less investigated in some way. And you'll find many more charlatans doing palm reading. Face reading is not very common.
Yes.
And it's a speciality that some practitioners use. And then they've taught it to some business people and people in other fields who find it useful as well. And I think when you look at some government agencies, there's some people studying things like this as well.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here and I feel naked because I feel like maybe you're reading my face, you know, everything about me, like all of my weaknesses and my life and everything. And I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable here. You probably get that a lot, hey?
It's not like that. It's not something that's constantly going. It's not like a program that I'm constantly running on my computer. I see somebody, and if it's in a clinic setting, then I put my full power on. Then I actually really, really look. But day to day, I'm not here to dig into people's lives. So I'm not analyzing you as we sit and speak here at all.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd be kind of working 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you don't want that to be switched on all the time.
Yeah.
It's useful when you're trying to investigate.
Yeah. So look, obviously with palmistry, and as you were saying earlier, certain lines on everybody's hands, there's a kind of a set pattern, a set standard to say that's your lifeline, that's your this line, that's your marriage line, that's how many kids, blah 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 blah. I think even if you've been given the basic understanding of it, I think probably everybody can do it.
Yes, exactly. And same with face reading. It's something anybody can learn.
Okay.
Essentially, I would say that it's the first thing we study. As babies, we're just lying there on our back, squiggling around, but we're actively observing the face, mostly of the mother, but then also of the other adults, like the father, etc., that comes in. And that little baby is trying to make sense of what it's seeing. Its depth of perception is not very big, so you've got to be relatively close to the baby for it to be able to clearly see. But then it's really trying to make sense of what it sees. And we play games with children about that. The whole peekaboo thing is about that. The whole over-exaggeration of emotions for the child is like that. And so the baby learns when you smile, mama's happy, then it's a good time. When mama's frowning, then it's not a good time. So we hardwire those basic expressions, especially the ones we make exaggerated, we hardwire it into our brain and we forget about it. It's there. We know when somebody is happy or when somebody is sad or when somebody's pensive. It's automatic. We don't think about what we're seeing. It's just the base layer. So face reading is taking that base layer and making it conscious and becoming really specific about what we're seeing.
Yeah,
and that's
sure.
also why it's different to palmistry.
But you're right, because actually, if you think about it, a smile is actually a frightening thing. If aliens came to the planet and they like telepathy and they don't actually know, like showing emotion, and they rock up and you're going like this, they'll like crack themselves. They'll be like, "Jeepers, what is this guy going to eat me or something?" So I suppose that is a learned thing. You got to learn to see like, oh, your mother's like happy, like she's not going to eat me, showing her teeth. Like so.
Exactly. So in the canine world, showing your teeth is a sign of aggression, for example.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we don't smile at dogs because dogs don't understand that face reading part.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So I unfortunately wear a very what's the word? I frown a lot and I wear a very kind of solemn look. But I'm the most open person. I mean, anybody can come and talk to me about anything, and I'll always engage, but people avoid me, especially if I'm out to a bar with somebody. I might know that person, they know me very well, so they've kind of overlook because they know who I am. Then the other people that are there, they will like sit around and they won't talk to me because they think, geez, no, he's like kind of rude. You know what I mean? So how does that kind of, you know what I mean? Because obviously saying babies kind of pick up on that, but you actually don't know what's inside. You don't know what's, So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
So for people, if you want people to like you more, this is general for anybody, not just for you, but I'm going to use you as an example. So the first thing you want to do is expose yourself so people can see you. People can only trust that which they can perceive clearly. So if you're wearing a hat, for instance, like in your case, that is hiding a part of your face. You're not showing it. So by taking your hat off at a social event where there's other people that you want to engage, by taking the hat off, maybe even taking your glasses off, you become much more approachable because you're more open, more vulnerable. And that makes people less guarded of you. So trust breeds trust. So by giving trust, by making yourself more seen, you're also creating trust that people will be more open with you. Whereas if the more guarded you become, the more guarded people will respond to you. The stranger will respond to you because they can't measure you. So all they're finding is an exterior that's not allowing them to see in. So dark glass is a great example of that. We struggle to talk to strangers who keep on wearing their dark glasses. But the moment they take their glasses off and we can look at them in the eye, our heart beats differently in relation to them. Now we can see them. Now we can connect with them. And we can empathize with them, essentially. And normally if somebody's wearing dark glasses because they don't want to be seen, they're not comfortable to be vulnerable.
I only wear dark glasses when I'm out in the sun. Otherwise I squint too lot.
That's why the FBI wears dark glasses, I reckon. You know, the spy wears the dark glasses. He doesn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
So, Gideon, how did you get into this? So where does it come from, firstly? What's the history of it, and how did you get into it?
Okay, so...
And also, sorry, just pronounce it properly for us, because me and Lee gave a shot in the beginning. I don't even know if we pronounced it properly.
Face reading.
No, is there a name for it?
No, that's what it's called. Okay.
I thought we Googled it, and it had like some very weird...
It's like Phenomeny or something like that. It's like a weird name.
Phenomeny is more a study that's originated in the West. So face reading, the way I do it, originates in China. It originates in medical families who's been observing people for generations medically. So and some people kept a record of what they're seeing and passed it on. My teacher, her name was Lillian Bridges. Her mother was Chinese. She's American. She's passed away now. But she was the world's expert on face reading. And she wrote a book about that called Face Reading. And it's even been updated since. It's so popular amongst practitioners because it's very, very accurate. It's very detailed as well. So, and it's very systematic, her approach to look at a face. So we're not just looking at a blank face. We divide the face in halves. We divide the face this way in thirds. And we're looking at, as you get more advanced with it, you're not trying to read everything you see. You're paying attention to what stands out to you. What, especially as a practitioner, a new client comes and sits in front of me, I want to see what pops, because that's speaking to me. So, and that gives me the opening to ask questions about that area or that issue. For instance, if a person has an anger with father line, right? Like I have an anger with father line. And if I see that, I can ask them, is your father still alive? What's the relationship with him like? Have you looked at new ways of resolving the conflict that you're sitting in? And then that opens a door, right? If that line stood out to me, and we're just having a discussion and trying to figure out what's going on for him.
Where's the anger with fatherland?
Here in the eye, you know, that on the one. You can see
I've got that. You've also got it there on your side. There, I've got it here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So often,
I've got lots of anger with my father.
Do you? Or like, did you read that correctly?
He did, 100%.
Well, our generation struggles with it because our whole society changed, and father represents society as well. So our society here in South Africa got flipped upside down. So what if you're over 50, you grew up with a different reality that exists now. And in that, dealing with that change, you had to reject essentially what your father stood for in some way and embrace a new reality. So it's natural for many South African men especially to have this line. Women too, though.
Okay. Wow, that's very interesting, because you don't have it, Will.
If you form the opposite line, so you've got there's two places. If you form the opposite line, that, for example, means that you've learned to deal with that anger. You've managed to process it in some way.
Wow.
And you've balanced it out.
Do you think you can...
You're not expressing it the same way anymore.
Do you think you can do a little bit of a reading on Lee's face there and see?
Just try to see if I fixed that line or not. So it's a little bit.
Lee, one of the things you can do if you want to change that line, one of the advices Lillian gave us is when you're at home doing your thing that you normally do, you're not in front of people, stick a piece of sellotape over it. And for 10 minutes, it will annoy you, this piece of sellotape. But after 10 minutes, you're going to forget about it. And then sometimes during the day, suddenly it's going to stand up to you, right? You're going to squint or something, and you're going to feel the sellotape. That's the moment you've got to check in with your feelings. What are you feeling to make you react in that way, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you another funny one that I see in older women, for instance. Often they get lots of little pleats running on their upper lip.
Yes, I've seen it. Older women.
And it's from doing that.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a cat's bottom.
Yes. And that's actually care and concern that they're expressing. Right. So when I see somebody with lots of lines like that, it tells me that they have cared for someone or several people with lots of concern, with lots of genuine concern, and have been quite particular about it.
Wow, okay.
Wow, so have you ever seen like a line on somebody and you can't figure it out and it's actually from a past life? Does that ever come through?
I don't think it would be...
Not that I can think of. You know, I don't deal much with past lives, that's right. You know, if people ask me about past lives, I say, I don't know, but I'm living this life like it's the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So
I mean,
Gideon, the basics. What is the basics? So you've got obviously there's certain lines, like I was saying in palmistry. There's literally 3 lines that are your basic stuff. So I know you're talking about the father line. You're talking about the lips. So what's the other 1 or 2 basics that you can kind of mention?
If you take a basic idea and you create a mid-fractal line, that's a line that runs down the center. That splits the face into the 2 halves. The left-hand side, right?
Looking at the left or my left?
Your actual left-hand side.
Okay.
So I'm touching mine which on the screen I think is on the right-hand side. You know, it confuses people.
Yeah.
I'm dyslexic, boggles me sometimes. But I know by looking. So this side of the face, that's your private face, where that side of the face is your public face. So you can see if there's a discrepancy between the two sides, you can start seeing what they're hiding from public view. Because we present one side of our face to the public, essentially. And the other side we hold personal, because we've got two halves of our brain.
Yeah.
One is what we articulate with and communicate with, and the subconscious mind is sitting there as well, and it's just gathering information. Later in a dream, it's going to come out. So it's not willing to share straight away. It's collecting. So that's one major thing that you can do straight away. Just look at people and see what's different between left and right. Is there an eye that's more open? Are they seeing more publicly? Or squint? Or is one eye closed? And I've been asked, what happens if this eye is almost closed? Well, I say, well, that person is looking inward. They're not looking outward for confirmation about who they are. They're looking into themselves. Okay. Whereas if this eye was really open and that eye was closed, then I would say people think he doesn't see much, but he sees much more than people can imagine, because secretly he's really looking, or she's really looking.
There's one actress.
But does that come from insecurity kind of thing, or is that?
There can be many reasons why we do that. That's a much deeper question, and that's where the medicine comes in. So if we can figure out it's insecurity or it's maliciousness or whatever it is that's sitting at the base of that, that gives us something to work, and that helps people to transform who they are, which is the main reason people come to see me. They come to see me to take away their pain, but they also come to see me to help them to become who they envisage themselves to be.
Oh, and then you become completely symmetrical on both sides of your face, and then become gorgeous.
Well, that's what beauty is. And it relates to something I said earlier about exposing symmetry, beautiful. And in the sense of what we're talking about is there is no hidden side. What I show to the outside is also what's on the inside. And for us, that's beautiful because there's no danger. It's clear to see, it's balanced, it's non-threatening, it is honest. And honesty is beautiful. If somebody really shares something honestly about what they're feeling, we all feel that with them, and that moment touches us. So deep honesty relates to very symmetrical face, not a beguiling person.
Sorry, there was a sorry, Will.
Sorry, I know you got a question there, but
I'm listening.
No, sorry. I was going to say you were talking about the.
Oh, sorry. So
I think there's a bit of a break somewhere.
Yeah, go.
So I think there's a delay here, so we keep cancelling each other out. But I wanted to ask Gideon, like when you see there's someone comes to pain or whatever they come to you, whatever the problem that they're seeking, how do you deal with it? Like, what do you like? Got herbal Chinese medicines? Do you do? I know you're acupuncturist, so how do you treat them?
I treat mainly with acupuncture. There is a very good herbalist in case where people do, or which I will tell them, go to the herbalist and ask for this formula, right? And then the herbalist will supply them. I'm not a distributor or a carrier of herbs, which is a big part of Chinese medicine. I do medical massage. I teach people movement. And essentially, I do a version of coaching or counseling, however you want to put that. Not that I'm a coach or a counselor, but from a Chinese medicine perspective, we have a very strong body of knowledge that can help people to transform or to find a pathway forward. Normally, people come to see me when they've tried many other Western remedies that hasn't worked for them, or they got stuck somewhere, or somebody told them about me. That's how people find me. Or they do a Google search for acupuncture and then they find me.
Sorry, Lee, go for it, man.
No. My question was for the previous, while we were talking about something else. That's fine. We moved on.
About the faces.
Yeah, there was an actress that's on a series I've seen quite recently, a black lady. I've seen her before, but her eyes, both eyes, bulge. They're like a pug. You know, like the dog, the pug.
Okay.
No, but I've seen her before.
yeah,
But her
yeah.
eyes are like almost like popping out of her head. She looks like a goldfish. So I was just wondering what
So
what was that?
let me address that. So that could be a medical condition where you have an hyperactive thyroid that causes interocular pressure, and that could be simply the cause of the bulge. But we also get very brilliant people that have big eyes, that you can see the white all around the pupil of the eye. Now, that's an indication when I see that this is either a very smart person or a mad man, right? So there's the two opposite extremes. Whereas if there is white showing above and not underneath, when it's like, see if I can do it, something like that.
Yeah.
Or you get that way. You get two different ways of it. One white shows the bottom and one white shows the top.
Yeah.
When one of them, and I'll give this as a little treat for you guys, if you go look at photos of Princess Di before she died, in the 2 months before she died, you'll see one of those sides. And that indicates a victim, whereas the opposite indicates somebody that has psychopathic tendencies. So one looks for the other.
So which one is the victim? Is the one at the bottom?
Well, I've given you homework. You've got to go and see what Princess Di Island.
That's actually very interesting. Very, very
Jeez, man. And then also these lines along the side, they always say, I've heard, I don't know if I want to ask you, they say these are grief lines.
It's age.
The ones on the side of the mouth.
They can be. You've got to take it within any of these lines or any of these facial features. They're within genetic patterns as well. So it's sometimes useful. Now you're talking about past lives. I think of it more in terms of your father's life or your grandfather's life. If they have very similar lines to you, there might be a genetic predisposition in a certain direction. So, for instance, on your face, I can see there's a line that runs roughly from the inner corner of your right eye here that runs up your forehead.
Yes.
That's called an aha line.
What's an aha?
Aha is the moment you have an insight, like aha, like you had a revelation, an insight, and it marks you. It's very interesting.
Okay.
That's like your eureka. You had somewhere in your life, and we could have a conversation about that. Somewhere in your life, you had an eureka moment, and that changed your trajectory, and it's marked on your face.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So and it doesn't mean, and it doesn't, like, lines don't mean they're going to happen. It means it's happened before.
Oh, well, Lillian Bridges will say to you, sometimes you see the shadow before the event. So it's a very deep question you're asking. Photography has been done to show a person was photographed before they died, and then they died by a freak accident where they got impaled. And when the photographer looked at the negative, that impalation line, the line of where this rod fell through them, came off a scaffolding, was already there in the negative days before the accident happened.
Yes, I've actually heard that phenomenon. Yes.
Yeah. So in the way I see reality, this is my personal perspective, I think of our bodies as only the physical aspect, but there's an energetic aspect beyond that. Like, call it the aura. You can call it an electromagnetic heart field. That there's many ways of describing that. However you see that, quite often, not always, quite often, those things that affect you medically or major life changes will manifest in your aura, in your energetic field, before it manifests in your body.
Mm.
So we are very simple three-dimensional beings struggling to reach the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. The whole scope of reality we can't perceive. We're time bound, that we see things happen in rows. But it's not, the physicists will tell us that's not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality, everything is now. Everything has already happened, or everything that's going to happen has already happened. And we've just strung it out to make sense of it. So I'm not a great physicist. I can't explain that part to you. But I can say that we see effects in people become gradually more severe, especially if they don't pay attention to what's causing that or what they're attracting towards themselves. They can change their reality by attracting something new towards themselves.
Jeez, that's quite frightening.
And that's used in many different therapies. In talk therapy, we say what we keep on talking about keeps on manifesting in our lives. The Tai Chi master says, wherever I place focus, there the energy goes and it manifests stronger. So,
yeah, that's like on all meditations, like where you meditate like on your forehead, that's where the energy goes. You meditate on your heart, like if you concentrate sensation on your heart or your awareness, the energy will go there.
Absolutely. And the more conscious we become in that process, the easier lives we live ultimately. Because we get to be co-creators of our reality. And many people are doing that now. Many self-help people are teaching people how to get rid of the fear, right? Identify what's holding you back. Let's look at that. Let's see where it came from. Let's transform it. And those people then suddenly become successful, or they become happy, or their relationship suddenly transforms. So this base idea is used in many different directions.
Yeah, sure. And also that whole manifestation thing, which I've learned is like, if you are, you have to imagine it like it's happened, because if you like are wanting the thing to happen, if you like always constantly worrying about it, like wanting to happen, you just manifesting the worry. So you always just manifesting. So you're not actually manifesting like the end result. You're just manifesting the whole worry and the anxiety of getting it. And you don't. But if you imagine it already happening, then you are manifesting it towards you.
Yeah, but it's hard to do that though, eh? Because when you start, like, let's take your thing for example. When you were going through that terrible time, everything just compounds. It's like, it's not a small thing. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's very difficult to pull yourself out of it. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to say, okay, yeah, just sit there and start thinking positively, because you can't. Because when you're sitting, the only thing that's happening is, shit, what's going to happen tomorrow? This is happening. I've got to go to court. You know what I mean? So you automatically, as a human being, you're worrying. That's just how we are. We worry about stupid things, and that's just how it is. So I think in cases like that, you have to write it out. You have to write out the negative to come out to the other side, because it's very difficult to get through that, dude.
There was a saying that says praying is worrying. Worrying is like praying for something you don't want. And I don't know who said that, but
and both of you are touching on it, that it's more about the feeling than the thought. The feeling is what gives juice or power to that thing that you want to, or that you anyway are manifesting. So how to, when you're in a deadline where everything is compounding, going to court, like the example given, it's how do you step out of that? There's various techniques. For instance, if you are feeling like that and you jump into a cold shower, you're not going to be feeling like that anymore, because you're dealing with a cold shower. And then you're going to be laughing afterwards. And suddenly your whole feeling has shifted and your day has shifted. So we can't solve the problems that we are facing by using what caused that problem. We've got to radically shift. That's why I say a cold shower, because that's a radical shift into a whole new direction.
It's probably where Wim Hof is. That's probably his whole thing, or with the cold plunges.
Well, Wim Hof he was the reason why he started experimenting with cold and breath was because he had lost his wife. He was in grief, and he wanted to shift his feeling. He just did it more radically than most of us even imagined. And then when he discovered what he was doing, he made a business out of it that has affected, I would say, hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know if it's millions yet, but it's affected many people. And breathwork now is a hot topic in Cape Town. So many people are investing in learning to become breathwork facilitators, or are going to breathwork retreats, or joining a breathwork class every day. We know that if you breathe properly for 8 minutes a day, you probably will cure most of what ails you. I can't promise it, but it's a very small investment to make. 8 minutes.
No, you're 100% right.
Probably well.
Yeah, Gideon, you're 100% right there, because the funny thing is, I was reading a bit of it was a document I was reading about. It had to do with remote viewing. There's a whole lot of stuff that we were going on about, but breathwork was important. They were saying, listen, with regards to breathwork, we as a human race don't breathe deep anymore. You know what I mean? Our capacity, our lung capacity shrunk. Everything we don't breathe deeply. And if you've got to catch yourself, if that makes sense. So like, if you're driving and you kind of got that shallow breaths, which is your normal breaths, you got to catch yourself like, shit, hold on, let's get some deep breaths going. And you got to start trying to be aware of the moment that you're in. And that also brings to mind something else that I was reading about, where they say when you get angry, because anger pops up so fast, it's like you could be driving and somebody cuts you off and your blood pressure is shot up, and you now just want to kill the oak in front of you. Your anger is like, it's out. But they've said, catch yourself doing that. See it happen, and then change it. So, okay, cool, it's happened. Nothing you can do. How do you change? How do you make it into a positive? So I agree 100%. The breathing, we've got to catch ourselves breathing properly, and you've got to catch yourself doing all sorts of bad things. Catch yourself when you're doing it, and then live in that moment and try and change that moment that you're in.
The Chinese teach us that when we do a practice like Qigong or Tai Chi, one of the biggest components of those slow movements is breathing in relation to the movement. So when I extend my arm, I'm doing an in-breath. When I return my arm, I'm doing an out-breath. Whatever the movement is, the breath is related to, my movements are related to my breathing, and that drops the nervous system to regulate at a lower frequency. So the upset for the driver cutting you off doesn't spike anymore. And you change as a human being by regular practice, breathing exercises, movement, and finding harmony. And your peace, your internal peace, becomes so valuable that you don't want to give it to that driver. Right?
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question now. So you mentioned about frequency now. So, there's always a thing. We're kind of living in the third dimension. We wanted to, as you mentioned, we're trying to get to the fourth and the fifth dimensions. The only way to get to those dimensions is to increase the frequency or our vibrations, which I don't know when people are talking about now, you must increase your vibration. Like, how am I going to do that? How does one increase their vibration because when you increase your vibration, that means the molecules and everything is moving at a quicker pace. So how does one do that? Is it to do with breathing? If you're doing the breathing techniques and you relax and you're calming and your nervous system is all relaxed and calmed down, is that increasing your vibration to kind of start doing the shift, or is there something else to it?
That is absolutely one of the pathways to use. There's an institute in America called the Heart Math Institute. They measure brain waves and heart waves, and they found that in certain situations, those waves synchronize. And when they synchronize, they call it cohesion, right? This body is in balance. and they've researched what brings us into balance. Meditation, for instance, is very strong for bringing us into balance. Singing together as a group is something that puts us in a different vibrational state.
Yeah, that's like church. When you go to church, there's obviously when you sing at church,
Yes.
it's bringing your vibrations up. Yeah.
Intention is a part of that. But people that don't do any of those things, that's an athlete. An athlete runs a 400-meter and they're in the competition and they drop into a zone and time stands still for them. They're moving gracefully. They're fully in the flow. Their vibration is way high. They're at peak performance. So there's more than one way to climb this mountain. Some people find it through devotion, through chanting. You know, the Hare Krishna that hops up and down the street singing Ra, Ra, Ra. They are finding a high from that. What drops our vibration? Things like selfishness, just trying to gain for the self, means that you are not trying to uplift everything around you. You're trying to collapse everything towards you. So that selfish tendency we have as humans is what drops us down, what drops our vibration. As an example, other things will drop it too: poor diet, poor air quality, dampness, not good sleeping conditions, wrong partner. You know, there's many things that can drop our vibration. So when you start looking at your life, start identify, is this lifting me or is it dropping me? Or am I lifting this or am I dropping this? Right? If you look at your best mate, who's your best mate? Now, there's times when your best mate lifts you up and transports you and you feel great. There's other times when you have to go to your best mate and say, hey, mate, you're okay. Let's go out. Let's change this. So quite often we can find higher vibration with people, especially people that we have a good backwards and forwards relationship with. And that's why we surround yourself with good people, because that's going to help you to be a good person yourself. And that's why people go to church, for that matter, because in church, everybody is aiming to try and improve themselves, to try and establish a connection to the divine. That's a collective effort. So you benefit from the guy next to you making that effort too, because you're moving together in the same direction. That could be a fire as well.
Because he's a guy that we interview sometimes on the podcast called Father Damon Urbani. And it's funny because he's a Catholic priest in Joburg, but he speaks like the language of the New Ages, you know. So it makes it so relevant to, because it's like, it's basically, he's trying to tell us the church is doing exactly what all the New Ages, like how, you know, all trying to get to the 5th, the 6th amendment. And he was explaining to me, he's like, no, church, it's lifting your vibration. You go there, you sing together, that lifts your vibration. You pray, it lifts your vibration. And then certain chapels are built in certain ways, so the frequency of your aura and the vibration of the sound, it bounces around and it lifts your vibration. So the whole purpose of the church was to lift your vibration. So that's why people go there every week to like uplift themselves and feel good and lift their vibration. They leave. And when you think of it like that, you're like, oh yeah, that's great. It isn't all about, you know, money and suppressing everybody. And it is
a lot about that.
Yeah, but I mean, he just changes the language, and then all of a sudden it's like it's cool again, you know. So
here is something church does for it. It gives us ceremony as well. It's not just congregation, but there is
and ritual. Yes,
ritual. So you can create. You're asking, how do you lift your vibration? You can create a ritual for yourself that sheds things that you don't want, that attracts things that you do want. And if you perform that ritual on a regular basis, that will become part of your toolkit. You'll be sharpening a new piece in your toolkit to lift you up. So this is directly corresponding to how much effort you're trying to employ in it. And as you try and make effort into employing yourself lifting up, it becomes easier and easier. And just like doing pull-ups. The first time you do a pull-up, it's hard. But if you persist with it, after 3 weeks, 12 pull-ups is no problem. And you feel good. Your body feels different. You've expanded your chest. Your arms feel good. I've just gone through this process with my son. And I saw him transform in a very short time into somebody that had less confidence to somebody that had more confidence, just by a simple exercise like mastering how to do a pull-up properly.
Yeah,
So
sure.
the effort we put in pays off. And in the spirit world, it's very quick. There's no material to retard it. There's no inertia in the spirit. If we can let go of the inertia that carries us, the obligations we carry or the debts we carry. So this is something I did in my life. When I understood what debt means to me personally, it weighed me down. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go debt-free. I'm going to cut up my credit cards. I'll never borrow money from anybody again. When I get a bill, I pay it straight away. So I don't have financial debt hanging on me at any given moment. It's not a weight on my head. You send me the message with a bill, I pay. If there's a discrepancy, I'll sort it out afterwards. I'd rather pay too much, but I don't want to owe anybody. I found that owing is like a chain around me. It made me heavy. By not having that, I'm freer. Then I went to the next step. I said, okay, well, I need to be able to pay for the next 6 months of my life up front if I have to. So I put that money away and it's sitting there. And now I never have to worry about tomorrow because I know in 6 months I can definitely hustle to get the next few months covered. So by staying ahead, those are things that drag me down. Maybe because of my personal history or the journey that I went through. It was 15, 16 years ago when I discovered, I feel heavy when I have debt. So I paid it all off and I felt super light. I started feeling very good. And it's a small thing, but if you add those small things together, it becomes incremental. And
sure.
As a lighter being, essentially.
I wanted to ask you this question. So I know we started off face, we were talking about face reading, and now we're on vibrations. But the thing is that, like, if someone pisses you off, like someone cuts you off in traffic or whatever, and that person like irritates you, and you're feeling like angry and irritated. Now, there's the one thing is like change your mindset. Don't let that take your power away from you or whatever, or like just think of something happy. But then there's the other thought that no, you got to deal with the emotion and let it run through you. So like, I've tried both, and I don't know which one. The thing is, if someone pisses you off and you just quickly start thinking about, oh yeah, that lovely holiday I had, or you look forward to something, and now you've diverted your thought or your energy into something positive. Is that suppressing the thing that was irritating you, and you should actually go back to it at some stage and like release it? I'm just confused. Like, is it suppressing it, or are you just lifting your vibration and are you free of the other thing?
Okay, so in your example, if you bite your tongue and bide your time and go and smash a plate later, you've carried that energy for some time. If you try and just think about something else, you're ignoring your feeling, and that's not right either. I think there's a third way. If you find yourself, I'm pissed off with that driver, try and put yourself in their shoes. What would make you do that? Would it be you rushing to the hospital? And will it be you rushing to the school to pick up a sick kid? What will make you behave in the way the driver did? Because maybe another way to look at this is to start having compassion for them. Is to say, okay, his day must really suck for him to behave like this. Because if I behave like this, my day would be terrible. Let's give him space, let him get on, and I'm not anywhere close to him because I don't want any of that chaos close to me. We missed an action by him cutting in, but let me back off, let him drive, let him get away from me, and I want to stay in my space. So that's changing a habitual way. And that doesn't happen necessarily in the instant. But that's a question you can start asking. what would make me act the way that person is acting? What situation in my life, what does my surroundings have to be for me to act like that? Because all of us have the ability to act in the most terrible of ways. None of us are innocent in that.
I've actually noticed that, like, when I see someone doing something terrible or like irritating, and I'm like, that mother effer, and I'm thinking like, geez, and then I actually catch myself doing the same thing like a few days later, or like even sometimes like immediately afterwards. It's the weird. I've only started noticing in the last year or something. It's like I catch myself immediately. I judge somebody. I mean, I might not be swearing at them or whatever. I'll just be like, oh, geez, that's weird or like I just judge somebody like somehow. I can't think of a thing right off the head now. And then I catch myself doing or thinking that exact same thing, like almost immediately afterwards or like the next day or something. And I'm like, geez, I just judged that person and I'm catching myself doing the same thing. It's like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, no.
Can I get back to your thing there, William, a little bit earlier about having to kind of go through that anger phase? If you look at all the supposed wise men that we've had over the centuries on this planet, they very rarely get angry. Anger is not supposed to be part of the enlightened human, if that makes any sense. Like the Buddha. The Buddha was never angry. He would let things happen and he would just say, well, that's as it is, and you carry on. So I think exactly as Gideon was saying now, and what I said a little bit earlier, you've got to catch yourself when you're in that state. You've got to catch yourself to say, oh, hold on, I can see, because you must remember now as well, when you're angry, you start pulling all the negative that's around you, and it comes to you, and your day just becomes completely shit. Everything that happens that day, it will go wrong. You probably have a fender bender, or you'll argue with somebody at work because of that anger. You've got to get rid of it. So I think in the case, what you were trying to say earlier, you've got to see yourself, get it out, go. It mustn't be in you. I don't think you need to work through that. I don't think that's the way to go, to be honest.
Yeah, but then how do you get it out of you? How do you
just recognize and you say, oh, that's it. Switch on the YouTube, like I was watching something, what's it, they call Key and Peele. It's a video, it's like these video snippets. I just switch on to something like that and I'm listening and I start laughing because that immediately it kind of gets rid of the
But that's the thing I was talking earlier, but then it sounds like you're suppressing it though, because now you've just changed your direction.
You have to change it.
You haven't.
No, but you see, the thing is you'll learn to deal with it.
In Chinese medicine, so there's a time factor involved here. If you have been suppressing anger for a long time, maybe you were in a relationship where you couldn't express yourself and you had to bite your tongue 1,000 times. That action can actually physically impact your liver, right? And it can be the cause of your high blood pressure. So there is a place for doing ceremony or ritual to release all that anger that you've built up. It doesn't have to be, it's maybe a year down the track. One of my favorite ways to tell people to release it is buy some plates from the second-hand shop and write on the plate with a permanent marker what you're pissed off about, right? What you can remember. What is this feeling? Was it the time somebody cut you off? Was it the time she called you ugly? Was it the time when you didn't make it to the bank in time to make the withdrawal, to make the payment? Whatever it is, you write it on the plate and then you go somewhere and smash those plates. And in the breaking of it, something breaks in you too, you release. So there is a place, I think, for when you decide, okay, I don't want to be this angry person anymore. I think there's a place to acknowledge the anger that you've been carrying for maybe years and to do some process. Not just say, no, it's gone now. Actually, to do a physical process. The liver responds very good to physicality. Maybe it's chopping a cord of wood, and you've sweated and you've smacked that wood, and now you feel free.
But I hear you, Gideon. That's exactly what it is. Because when that person cuts you off and you get angry at that person, it's actually not that person or whatever. It's all the years of that anger from the girlfriend, from the thing, the going to the bank, whatever, all those things. That's actually what's pissing you off. The guy in front of you doing that thing is actually nothing, but it's just triggered all of that shit before that, and that's what's actually made you mad.
Yeah.
So suppressing it, trying to look at Peel and Kevin and Peel,
I'm
or
telling
like,
you, that works for
or
me.
like that, whatever.
Works for me.
It doesn't matter because it's actually your baggage. That's what's triggering you, not
It
the
works
guy
for me.
who's cutting you.
I don't get angry very often.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well,
go
that's great. So
spend some hours.
then you found a way that works for you. I don't think, and I think this is where our medical field really needs to look at. I don't think it's fair to say one remedy will work for everybody,
Yeah.
even if everybody has the same disease.
Yeah.
We're all individual human beings.
Yeah.
Remedies need to be tailored for us as to where we are in that moment. A year from now, that remedy might not be appropriate anymore. It might be a different remedy. So, and ultimately, we are responsible for our bodies. So, if I give that responsibility to the doctor, to the surgeon, at some point I have to take that responsibility back for me. And I find in my life, less and less do I want to give the responsibility to someone else. I want to see what I can do to shift what's going on for me. And most of the time I know what to do, but I'm too lazy, right? And then I've got to work on my laziness, and then I get active, and then it shifts. And afterwards I ask, what was the problem, right? Because I've just got to get off my butt and start moving, and the problem will resolve itself. Most of the time. There's times when we need professional help. But I think even if we go and get professional help, at some point during that help, we have to say, thank you very much. You've given me the tools, or you've given me what I need for now. I'm going to take self-responsibility back. And I'm going to see if what you've given me can get me up to the next level, where I don't suffer from that same issue anymore.
I think the Greeks got it right, eh? I mean, these oaks live forever and a day because they break plates every second day.
They also live on olive oil and tomatoes and basil, you know. That's a great combination. Some cucumber thrown in.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
No, cool, man.
So, hey, is there any? Can't you just do like a 5-minute face reading there on Lee quickly to see what's happening there?
No, do not worry. He's not wearing a hat.
So if I look at Lee, I divide the face into 3 parts. I mentioned this before, and I look at what's the biggest of those 3 parts.
Okay, there you go.
And the first thing that stood out to me when I looked at Lee is that it's quite balanced. The 3 areas are quite even. So I think it's got a good mix of strength that's represented in the jaw. So when we look at a comic character that is very strong, we quite often see them have a square jaw, a really big, strong jaw. It's a sign of brute strength. Where the nose and this cheek area and the eyes, that's much more to do with social engagement. That's why people with forehead indicates a thinker, an intellectual, as somebody that uses their brain power. So I look at Lee, I would say Lee hides his intelligence and pushes his strength, but he's actually very good with people.
I am.
That will be a quick reading.
Is there a way to see if someone's good in bed?
What the fuck, man?
Yes, climb in bed with him and you'll quickly see.
Well, I mean, like, I don't want to know if Lee's good in bed. I'm just saying, like, or maybe, you know, like, it could be like a superpower. Like, you know, you could read. I mean, I'm not talking about the bed thing now. That's just a joke. But like, you know, if you're just sitting in a business meeting, you could be like, okay, this guy's an idiot, or like, oh no, he's cool, no, or like, oh, he's talking so much shit right now. I mean, it'd be like such a superpower to have, actually, to read someone like that.
That's why some business people, especially people in HR, like getting the skill. not just to analyze the person sitting in front of them, but also to see how they'll fit into the team.
Oh, wow.
So when you understand the broader theory of Chinese medicine, you don't want to put two fire people next to each other in the office. You want to put a wood person next to the fire person because the wood will feed the fire. And you want to put an earth person on the other side of that because they'll end up collecting all the ash and actually getting the work done. So a clever HR person builds teams based on the characters and also the skills. But the skills can be taught, but the characters is very hard to teach. So if you want a very effective team, make sure there's a leader in the team and not two leaders. You know, that's just from
yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
So if you can see this is a good leader, the team member. When the next good leader comes in, not for this team, but can I keep you on file when we start the next team? So
amazing.
they can use those attributes and start putting people together that will complement each other, and that's better for the business.
Wow, but now I'm just burning inside. What is it that you can see that someone's good in bed? I have to ask that now. Like, what? How do you know if someone's good in bed? What is?
It's more to do with what they do, right? I think women are very good at noticing this. It's about the attention you give. It's about the space you give, the time you give. It's about the presence. How present are you with that person? If somebody is very present with you, totally in that moment, totally there with you, it's probably indicating when they're in bed with you, they're also going to be fully present with you, and that's going to make for a better experience. I think quite often it's the two are good together in bed, or more, but the two are good together in bed. If you took any of the individuals and you mix them with somebody else, they might be terrible. But the chemistry of two people being fully present with each other, not being in a rush, taking their time, that's what makes a good bedtime experience, I think.
Okay, well, I was just thinking, like, maybe if the left nostril was bigger than the right, or the one had a floppy ear, then you're like, whoa, no, she's going to be amazing. I thought it was something like very obvious, but like, no, okay, so it's got to be, you got to pay attention. It's more
We're
like
heading off to Dr. Phil's territory, yeah.
Well, there is colloquialisms that we see in medicine that says that there is a proportion in our body. The finger length is proportionate to the hand length, it's proportionate to the forearm length, it's proportionate to the upper arm length. So people have looked at the length of noses, for instance, or the size of mouths to speculate onto the size of appendages, for instance. But that's not what makes somebody good in bed.
Yeah, sure.
That's the golden ratio you're talking about there, no?
The golden ratio. Now, sometimes people are off in their golden ratio, and that has also got meaning. You'll see an example of that on my hand. You'll see my palm is much, much bigger than my fingers. I should have real big mitts. So my fingers are underdeveloped in relation to my palm. I read that as huge potential and not many places to output. Right? A big trunk, short limbs. This person has lots of power, but little reach. That's how, just using myself as an example. And it's an anomaly, you know, and I see it, and it's genetic. I see it in my son as well. My one son has the same thing, right? Big palms, short fingers. So I know he's doing a similar journey to me, whereas his brother has got long fingers, is much more like his mum, is artistic and flowing. So some of our character is embedded in our body's proportions, and the deeper you go with that, the harder it is to adjust that, or the bigger the journey is to. For me, the big journey has been to find outlet of my creativity, outlet of what I have as potential. I've gathered lots. I've traveled the whole world studying what I do, and I've gathered lots. And now I'm looking for more outlets. That's why I agreed to come on a podcast with you.
Because it's a new outlet. Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't say no to things like that.
Yeah. So now, Gideon, where can somebody learn this kind of stuff? Because I find it fascinating.
Sure. The short answer is, if you want to study Chinese medicine, there's good international schools. There's very good schools in the UK, but you can do lots of reading before you go and study this. You can read books on face reading. There are several ones, but the best one is by Lillian Bridges. I'll grab it. See your old cover.
Yeah. Fascinating. Can you imagine just like looking at someone, you know exactly what their life journey is, what's happening in their life?
Does that?
Yeah.
Just a little bit back there, a little bit back. Get it?
Oh,
Yeah. There.
There
A
we
little
go.
bit forward.
Oh, it's out of focus.
It's out of focus. I will. Let's see if I can change that. How do I change that?
No, it's fine. Just it's just called
No,
face
I think
reading.
my whole background is being blurred. It's one of the effects on
Yes.
the. It's
Zoom.
an
Oh,
effect.
yes.
I don't know how to change that effect. Let's
That's
forget
fine.
about that. Find a teacher is another way.
Yeah.
Find somebody that you trust and that inspires you, and just start with something like Tai Chi or Qigong. Just start moving. Most of that knowledge is through experience, through having experiences, and to find people that tell you what things mean, or to read in a book and it will tell you what things mean. And I think the greatest teacher, and you've mentioned it, non-judgment, staying away from judgment, keeping your opinion open, is a way to gain more information. Because the judgment is like the dot at the end of a sentence. It closes it off. It closes the experience or the experiential learning. It stops it. Because we've made a judgment, it's final, and we put it behind us. Whereas if we suspend judgment, if we say, oh, it could be that, it could be that, I'll wait to get more information. Judgment, Bob Marley said it best. Way back in the day, Bob Marley sang, judge not, for you are not ready for judgment. And I think that's so true. None of us want to be judged. All of us want to be given grace. So in order to receive that, I have to give that. That will manifest more in my life. The more graceful I am with people, the more grace I'll be held in as well. And that is a bigger learning that you can do through Chinese medicine or anything. Just that simple practice. Let's not judge. Let's see. Let's keep the options open. Let me put myself in those shoes and rather work with compassion and understanding. And then more and more will reveal to you as people reveal themselves and you come closer to what truth is.
Wonderful. And yeah, can they learn this from you though? I mean, like
they can study with me. They can come and do Tai Chi or Qigong classes. I do group classes. I do private classes. I have several students who come to me privately. They can just come and do a session with me. I'm busy writing 2 courses. One is just for men, 7 Steps to Sacred Masculinity. That's already written. I've just got to
nice.
Put it online. And then I've created a course for anybody. It's called Resharpening Your Toolkit, your spiritual toolkit. So that's an 8-step process over 8 weeks, so 2 months that you go through and you redefine yourself spiritually and sharpen yourself spiritually so that you can be more of a weapon. You know, I think like a man, so I think about sharpen a weapon. But women have the same process. Theirs will just be softer.
Yeah, just like
and how do they get hold of you?
How they get hold of me? Type in acupuncture and Gideon, and you get hold of me.
Well, actually, if you just search Gideon Le Roux, it comes up like the first 4 searches on Google. I mean, I don't know who's doing your optimized search engine. I want to pay that guy for my website too. But you come up straight at the top there, and I don't even type in anything else. I just your name and your surname. Boom, it's the top right there.
No, you can. Acupuncture and Gideon works really well too, and that you'll find me. And I think people do their own stalking, you know, so they can go and find me if they want to find me. I'm at the clinic in Tamboerskloof in Cape Town. It's a very friendly place. You can WhatsApp me 076 800 6038. You WhatsApp me and you can make an appointment. Or if you just want to talk to me, we can go and have a coffee, but you're buying. And I love meeting with people. I love chatting and discussion. I love helping people. That drives my life. I spent most of my life overseas. I came back to Cape Town 2 years ago. I never thought I'd come and live in Cape Town again. And it's been such a pleasant surprise. What a wonderful country we have. What a wonderful city this is. What beautiful people. Now,
It sounds like you spent your time in Scotland.
I spent my time in New Zealand and Australia.
Okay.
New
Oh, yeah,
Zealand.
you said New Zealand like with a New Zealand accent. So, yeah.
New Zealand is very much like Scotland.
Yeah.
There's so many similarities. It was even populated mostly by Scottish people when the Europeans came.
Oh, wow.
They were sent there for rabbit stealing and stuff like that. They won't admit it. They say all the convicts went to Australia. I'm sure plenty went to New Zealand too. They're probably going to cop some shit for this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. But Gideon, what an interesting podcast. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this, like
Yeah, thank
more
you, man. It
than
was much
most.
appreciated.
So
Thank you for the
it's
opportunity.
amazing. It was so
Thank
cool.
you for the opportunity, and I'd love to do this anytime you want to.
Jeez, I can't wait to come and get my face read.
There you go. What I do as well,
But scared.
I acupuncture rich ladies' faces to take their wrinkles away. And that transforms
wow.
their lives too.
Oh, sure, because it's all there. Affecting.
It's all there, right? So that's just another way of treating somebody.
Nice.
And
Jeez, well, I'm gonna come out there like Hellraiser. See that?
Fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity.
Gideon,
it
thank
was
you, man. We'll
amazing.
definitely have you on again. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, it was so cool. Loved it
Have a
so
nice
much.
evening.
You too,
Yeah,
Gideon.
you too,
Thanks, man.
man.
Bye.
Cheers.
Man.
That was interesting, man. Really, really enjoyed that.
That was
This
super
actually-
cool, man. I love
yeah,
that.
pretty cool. Can you
Loved
imagine
it.
that as a superpower? You like and like talking to someone. Yeah, I know he says he doesn't kind of do it, because otherwise you'd like working constantly.
Yeah, I
Can
reckon
you
it's
imagine just
sucking
like
us
looking
up,
at someone and
totally.
thinking, yes, this guy's going through some shit, eh? Hey, well,
Yeah.
I can see why you're going through all the cuck that you. I can see you. I look at your face. I can say, fuck.
He's probably gonna be. He's just phone me after this and go like, "I was watching you, but please just do not jump from the building tonight." I saw that in the session. Everything's gonna be fine. Just come here. I'll stick some needles in your face. We get rid of that quickly.
Yeah, you don't even need to go to your brother-in-law for the exorcism. You know what I mean? So 100%. Shit, yeah. No, cool. Anyway, but fantastic talking to you again tonight, and I think it was quite a very interesting podcast tonight.
Nah, I loved it. That was so cool.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody for listening again. Like and subscribe as per usual, and yeah, we'll chat to you guys next week. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Lee.